and welcome to 2020 Doors Open Virtual, the COVID edition.
Oui, c'est ça, bienvenue à l'édition virtuelle de notre événement Porte ouverte, un événement qui est habituellement annuel, présentiel, mais cette année on l'a adapté un petit peu. Puis il fait pas très beau, mais c'est pas la bonne image parce que vous pouvez être à l'intérieur.
It would be normal for it to be gray and rainy. There was one year there was even snow. So let us deal with the weather. You sit back and relax. Over the next 3 days, we're going to 3 buildings that recently had their heritage plaques installed. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a little bit of exteriors. And it is doors open, so you will deal with some interiors as well.
On rentre à l'intérieur. Fait qu'on va commencer avec Empire Block, une structure commerciale de 3 étages construite en briques rouges. Puis de ça, j'ai compris, les briques sont faites à la main, avec une façade en grès rose.
So this 3-story commercial building, even though it says up there 1915,
Une pierre d'inscription, la date 1915.
We'll talk about that a couple times, I think. Date stones are a good way of knowing when a building was under construction. It's usually cornerstones, date stones off by a year in terms of finished. So this would have started 1915, finished 1960.
1916,
Yeah.
c'est ça.
And it was built for Lester Higgins.
Oui, Monsieur Higgins, il y avait une série d'édifices ici à Moncton. Le nom de ces édifices-là avait un lien avec le Commonwealth britannique.
Yeah, he started with the Higgins block, the eponymous building, boot and shoe factory and warehouse and store that he started renting out real estate, like retail space, and then realized how lucrative that was. So the next venture was, I'm going to build an actual retail building. I'm going to build another one and another one. So you get the Empire block, the Victoria block, the Liberty block, Imperial block. So all of these names associated with British Commonwealth, because this is happening between World War I and World War II. So everything was very Victory, British Commonwealth. So that's why you get Queen Streets, Victoria Street, things like that. So Lester Higgins had this built, but it was built by H.H. Mott.
D'accord. Lui, il venait de
St. John.
Saint-Jean.
Which is why you get the 3-story brick stone style, because everything in St. John in this period, if you go to St. John, everything's a 3-story brick or stone building commercially. So
Avec une inspiration architecturale italienne. Un peu comme le Albion block qu'on va voir demain.
that's right, same architect, H.H. Mott from St. John.
Voilà.
But now they use local people. The builders were Amos Gauvin
Gauvin.
and Docety Leblanc.
Leblanc puis un Gauvin.
Oui.
Mais on s'entend que Gauvin, c'est Gauvin.
And that's when it's listed, and this is a bit of a side note, but you'll actually see this written on some buildings in that period of time. There was an enterprising gentleman who built himself a block. Babin was his name, but it was the Babang block. So you do have a lot of instances in this period of time of anglicizing French names for the purposes of retail.
C'est ça, pour donner une sonorité anglophone. Puis c'était une décision qu'ils ont prise professionnelle, malheureusement.
You can't knock it. They have to make their money, and they knew the market then was an English market. So you had Babangs, Gauvangs. Maybe it started as a mistake doing census or city directions.
C'est une erreur.
And so they would just say, oh, you're a Babang, you're a Gauvang. And you had a choice to say, no, I'm a Babang. Or if you're a retailer, these are my clientele, so I might as well go with the flow. So you can't really knock them for doing it, but that is a reality in that period of time of Babangs and Gauvangs. So what you did is on the main floor, up until 2015, this was plywood, green plywood. It was ugly. That's right.
Premier étage.
For a while, RCMP had a community outreach kind of office in there, but really,
C'est comme du bois vert, hein?
yeah, just plywood.
Ouais.
Yeah, gross. It really was gross because it wasn't even a nice green. It was like a minty, weird green. Anyway,
Les nouveaux propriétaires l'ont donné le belle vie, là.
So what happens in 2015 is the new owner comes in, starts ripping that stuff off, and for the purposes of finding things like metal pilasters holding up the floor, like beautiful details. But he also found some stained glass that he's going to incorporate inside the building.
C'était dans le panneau juste au
Up
top
above
de
the
la
door,
fenêtre.
right
De
there,
la
yep.
porte, oui.
And where it says My Home Mercantile, he actually took off an old, I think probably like a 1970s, 1980s sign, like a box lit sign, and took some stuff out, and he found perfectly preserved a giant Colpitts menswear sign out of wood.
Colpitts, vous connaissez peut-être. C'était, en fait, ils étaient là depuis le tout début du Empire Block jusqu'aux années 70 quand ils ont déménagé. Fait que c'est un commerce très ancré dans l'histoire de Moncton.
Yeah, so the owner sees that and immediately knows that Greg Turner, former councillor, MLA now, said, you know, you used to own this. What do I do with this sign? And he said, I'll take it. And then he immediately called the museum and said, I've got this sign. We said, we'll take
On l'a
it.
installé dans le musée si vous voulez voir. C'est énorme.
We tried to find a wall for that thing. It ended up going in the main stairwell. The apparatus they had to build to put it up. It is long. It is high. What a fantastic hand-painted sign. Really, really cool.
Fait que retournons à la structure, les éléments caractéristiques d'un édifice de style italien. Qu'est-ce qu'on voit ici? Des détails comme la corniche qui est décorée avec des modillons, juste au top ici. La pierre d'inscription avec la date dans un tampon.
Yeah.
Parapet.
And what's cool as well, all kinds of details still exist. Way up there, you see a chimney. That chimney is actually a corbelled chimney. So a detail that makes no functional sense, pure style.
Esthétique.
So really a lot of detail left in this building. Continuous lintels.
Oui, les linteaux, puis les appuis des fenêtres sont continus. Tout autour de l'édifice, on va vous montrer le côté aussi. Vous allez voir, sont continus en grès rose malgré les murs en brique rouge.
Yeah. So a lot of details on the outside that are still existing, still well preserved, but the inside. We still have the original function of retail on the main floor, and it is apartments on the other two floors. So we'll start with the retail space and take a look and see what they've done, see what you can do with an old building on the inside.
Un peu d'inspiration. Nous voici dans une des entreprises qui est tout de suite dans le Empire Block, le My Home Mercantile.
And what's really cool with these buildings, a lot of them serve the same purpose as originally intended. So when Higgins built this, commercial, residential, or even commercial offices, residential, but the flavor's still there. So the fact that it's still used for the same purpose is one of those extra things that helps preserve old buildings. Keeping using it for the original. Not necessary. There's all kinds of churches becoming breweries, but when it can be actually used for what its original intent was, that's exactly it. Fewer changes. And then there's choices as retailers. You can use what's originally there if it's available. If the owner of the building hasn't done something, you can sometimes integrate directly into the old space.
Oui, des fois ça fonctionne, dépendamment qu'est-ce qui reste encore de l'original.
That's right, and it has to do with the nature of your business as well. You might have something like next door at Style where it's a complete juxtaposition. It is sleek, it's modern, it's very but then you have a place that just fits. Like this place, and it fits for a couple of reasons. The type of store that it is perfect for a heritage building, and that the way they've chosen to use pipes and boards, the metal and the wood for your front desk, those elements really, you don't get jarred.
Non, ça marie bien
when you walk into the building,
avec le moderne.
Yeah, so there's a fit there. So really lucky to have this tenant in this building and have a store like this in Moncton that when you see one of these heritage buildings, that flavor carries through with you when you walk.
Ça donne le goût de rentrer pour voir qu'est-ce qu'ils ont fait.
And that's Tara back there. Hi, Tara. She'll welcome you at reduced hours probably because of COVID. Yes. But she'll come see here. But really cool to see and to live upstairs and to come down, and you can come down and grab a candle. It's very convenient to have this on your ground floor.
Ça ajoute la vie au centre-ville. J'aime bien l'idée de continuer à avoir des commerçants au rez-de-chaussée des édifices patrimoniaux.
It's important for a vibrant downtown.
Je suis d'accord.
No matter if it's in a heritage building or not, the fact that you have Main Street ground level retail and the fact that it's in a heritage building just increases the chances of survival of the building. So now I did mention residences.
Oui, ben moi je serais curieuse d'aller voir en haut justement.
Because there is an owner that took over in 2015. Let's take a look what they accomplished, what they kept, what they didn't keep.
D'accord. Fait que nous voici à l'intérieur de l'édifice, dans un couloir où on voit des indices de la structure originale, des très très beaux cadres, des moulures originales. Les plafonds sont très hauts.
12 feet-ish? I didn't measure, but I would have to guess they're 12-foot ceilings. And what's really cool is this really is a style of office and residences from this period when people like Lester Higgins built buildings like this. They knew office space in the bottom, smaller offices or residences on the top. But you see the height. These are regular height doors, but you match the ceiling height by adding these large blind transom panels.
Oui, les panneaux au-dessus des portes, c'est un élément visuel qui aide à allonger la verticalité des couloirs.
So luckily, the owner that took over in 2015 kept the frames around the doors, all that detail, the sort of runner about eye level that goes down the hall that really helps kind of split that vertical in half kind of thing.
C'est accentué en noir, vraiment une belle façon de le moderniser aussi.
Yeah, now you have to add certain modern things like we see in every building, your ventilation and things like that, but the choice to keep everything original as possible makes sure there's that usability. If you can still use it in a modern context, the building survives. As soon as you start to put clamps on old buildings, or you can't add a heater, you can't add, well then the building dies, it's never occupied. Unoccupied buildings kill the buildings. Occupied, that's it, if they're not occupied, bye-bye. So occupied buildings give life to the building. So the other things you'll see, we'll show them the staircase.
Ah oui, les escaliers, c'est vraiment beau.
Yeah.
Il y a un radiateur original aussi.
Yeah, original hot water radiator. But the balusters and everything, the newel post, everything kept original. So we'll take a look at those too. So here we are in one of the stairwells, because what you saw on the main floor, it's the same thing again, so residential. So beautiful, beautiful layout. But as you walk through, you might be in your nice modern apartment, but as soon as you walk out, you see details like the original newel posts, balustrades, things like that. So when you keep those details, and you're constantly reminding the occupants,
C'est dans un édifice patrimonial.
I'm in an old building, I live in a modern building, I'm in an old building. It really keeps their attention and keeps it alive, makes it a unique living experience.
Ouais, je suis d'accord. Et c'est vraiment beau ici. Puis les fenêtres sont énormes.
Everything about this building is height. I mean, the doors, the windows, everything is height. So buildings like this quite often in other metropolitan areas or even in Moncton sometimes get chopped up to make smaller units. So the fact that everything was kept in original sort of size and scope, very unique. Yeah. You don't feel like you're in a chopped up building. You feel like you're in the original organic space that was built. Yeah.
Nous voici au 3e étage. On voulait vous montrer un dernier détail avant de terminer la capsule.
And this detail, again, is important, not just because it's original, but because there were some issues with it. And it's the choice of the owner. When stuff goes wrong with stuff that's original, there's cheap, quick, easy, modern, or a little bit of attention, maybe a little more expense, then you're left with what was the original intention. What we're talking about, of course, is the skylight here. So on the 3rd floor, this would be very, very dark.
Sombre, il n'y a pas de fenêtre, mais il y a ce puits de lumière qui était déjà intégré dans la structure originale. Il y a eu des problèmes.
Yeah, it was a leaking skylight, and skylights notoriously, when they leak in a big building like this, you tear it down, you block it in, you add lighting, artificial lighting. He made the less cheap choice to actually replace the skylight. So it's not the original skylight, but you still have natural light on your top floor the way it was intended. Decisions like that make these buildings.
Ben oui, je suis complètement d'accord. Fait que c'est beau à voir et félicitations aux proprios pour avoir pris des décisions comme ça. Fait que Voilà.
Yeah, so there's Empire Block.
Oui, puis on va avoir deux autres surprises pour vous demain et après-demain. Le Albion Block et Mary's Home.
Cool. We'll see you then. Bye.